Pringle looking towards Odegaard. Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! And they are back on terms!
Hello, welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast, and we've got some UK-based preseason friendlies to talk about. It's exciting, isn't it? Yeah? Yeah. So thank you all for joining us. We have tonight with us, Michael is with us. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
We have and we have Ben with us as well. How's it going,
Hello.
Ben?
Very good, thank you.
I feel like this is the first midweek episode you've had in a while.
Yeah, probably is, to be fair.
Yeah.
As I was saying to Mick earlier, it's the first episode I think we just us three on in about a year as well.
It is, to be fair. Weren't it just us three on Sunday?
No, because Kev was on, Kev Johnson.
Kev was on, because Kev was on with us. Sorry, Kev. Yeah. Well, Danny's at the Women's Euros again. France, Belgium, I think it is at New York Stadium Thursday evening. So yeah, that's why Danny's not with us. Should be back with us on Sunday evening. We'll talk more about Sunday evening in a minute. First of all, we want to give a massive shout out to our sponsor, Athletic Green, who keep supporting the show. They are the guys who can help you with it if you're multivitamins, if that's what you want to get yourself a bit healthier. That's what they can help you with, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, it is. And I'll be honest with you, to coin Ben's phrase, I absolutely recommend it. It's really, really good. I've been using it for about a month now, and I can even remember my own name some days. It has a massive effect. It's really, really good. I very, very much recommend it. Very much recommend it.
Yeah. We do. We all do, to be honest with you. It's one of those things that sort of it's a multivitamin thing, so it can help with just well-being in general. Helps with sleep quality and recovery. Ben, recovery from stuff. And we've said before, they are a climate neutral certified company, which we're all about the environment at the minute. So to make it easy, Athletic Green are going to give everybody a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free trial packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/Rotherham. To take ownership of your health and pick up on the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And obviously, Ben highly recommends it. I got that one in for you, Ben.
Thank you.
Do it, you don't regret it.
We've got a few people with us in the live comments. Neil Liversage, Philip Halls, YouTube user says, "Good evening, gentlemen. All quiet on the transfers. Should we be panicking?" We will come on to that. Harvey Kelwick, J-Boy, Chris Tether, Brooke Simcox, Sean Green, and Joanne Simpson are all with us. We've got, to be honest with you, I'm surprised we've got so much to cover tonight, but we have got quite a lot to talk about, I suppose. Where do you want to start, Mick? I'll let you have a go.
The obvious starting point would be the first friendly at Harrogate, wouldn't it? I guess.
Yeah,
which certainly none of us three saw. So it's going to be a bit thin on the ground, I think, in terms of any sort of real discussion about it. But start with Harrogate, mate. What would score?
We won 3-0. Nice. We won. Dan Barlaser, Hakeem Adofin, and I should have written down the third scorer. Who scored the third goal?
Kelly?
No, this is where we're going to come in, Ben. You see, it's start of the downturn. This we've played 2 games now and not scored as Georgie Kelly. So I'm amazed that I've not seen. I've been away for a few days, so I've not been on Twitter because, as you're aware, my internet connection in North Wales ain't great. But I've not seen. I expected when I got back today to see a Twitter meltdown about Georgie Kelly and how crap he is, because he's not scored in 2 games. But I've not seen it. I don't know whether it's there.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was Kieran McGuckin, as Carl Scott points out, one of the bright sparks of the both friendlies. To be fair to him, we'll probably come to the Salford one in a minute. The Harrogate one was a bit more representative, Ben, because it was a stronger team. It wasn't obviously amazing, but it was a stronger team in the first one. The Salford one was the one that everybody could watch. I suppose that's maybe the frustration that Salford, the game wasn't very good. We could all watch it. Harrogate one was pretty, by the sounds of it, was pretty good, and nobody could watch it unless you went to the ground. So, and maybe where some social media frustrations come from.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a friendly that, we've just got. I don't know when we got back from Croatia, but
Saturday, I think.
So we're not going to be game ready. I know people might think that because we're playing games, but we won't be game ready. We'll still be recovering and still be trying to recover from them awful runs in 7 a.m. in Croatia, which I think people might underestimate, because in 30-something degree heat to jog for, however, I think it's 5k runs.
At least 5k, 5 or 10.
5, I don't know,
at least
but
5,
I can guarantee you that it will not all be flat. It'll be horrible. So to do that every day is that's not going to make your game ready. So we can't read too much into it, but obviously still want to win and stuff like that. But yeah, the social media frustration is always going to happen, isn't it? I mean, even if we won 4-0 against Barca, there'd still be some stupid idiots. So
yeah, we'll come on to the proper frustration in a minute about the numbers and stuff like that. Talk about the players who did play. A Dauphin, Mick, scored, and not really relevant, I suppose, but he is playing at centre-back. And the game he didn't play at centre-back, we conceded. Read into that what you will. But it's good to see him getting the minutes. I know it's only pre-season, but I want to see a Dauphin in this team. I like him. I don't know why I like him, but I do like him. And if it means playing centre-back, well, we need centre-backs.
He's one of those players, isn't he, who certainly for me, you took an instant liking to, and it's not something that you can put your finger on. Don't really know why, but I feel exactly the same as you. It's great to see him in the team. Having seen him in the flesh at Parkgate, and then obviously on the game yesterday, it looks like he's lost a bit of weight. He seems to.
I thought that he was skinny, doesn't he?
Yeah. Which can only be a good thing, and it's going to make him a lot quicker. And he was quick enough as it was, for a big lad. He looks like he's not even moving; his legs aren't moving, and then he covers the ground like, it's bizarre. So I'm keen to see him in the team. I think he's got a lot to offer as the lad. Whether that is in a central defensive role is another matter. I suspect he's filling in at the moment. We've had the lad on trial from Wolves, and Humphreys is obviously sort of not really game ready yet, and only got half of the Croatia tour as well. So he's possibly just filling in there. I'd like to see him sitting in that midfield with Dan Barlasser. Because
who are Dauphin?
Yeah. I think he's got something to offer. Certainly has. Particularly at this level as well. Bear in mind, midfielders are going to have a lot more time on the ball in the Championship than we did in the in League One. So, yeah, it's good to see. Good to see.
It feels to me like a sort of defensive, combative midfielder, like Rathbone, but much more defensive. And we didn't need that last season. Barely anything. We needed that. That's why you can get away with playing Dan Barlas as almost defensive midfielder, even though that's not his position. He's obviously he's a bit more further forward. You get away with it because you don't lose out by putting him there. And his defensive work has come on a lot. I should add that in there, to be honest with you. But a Dauphin, I agree that a Dauphin may suit the Championship better in a strange way. We'll see. It was the game we saw both new fullbacks start, Curso and Cohen Bramall. J-Boy asks, his friend said that Bramall had a bad injury at Harrogate. Any truth in this? I know he came off injured, and from what I've read of Paul Warren's comments, the only long-term, and I use that term because I don't know how long it is Tommy Eves, who was set to miss the start of the season. I suspect Cohen Bramall, if he's not ready for this Saturday, will be ready for the midweeks. That's the inference I get from Paul Warren. But to be fair, Ben, if there's only Tom Eves that's out for pre-season, that's not bad, to be fair. For the players we've got, you are getting minutes in all of them, which is the only thing that's important.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What injury is it to Eves? Broken nail.
They've not said anything.
Right.
I understood it.
Didn't he come in with a minor injury as well? Yeah, didn't he come in with some injury?
Don't know.
Or he got injured on first day or walking to his medical or something. I don't know.
What's your problem?
Wait, he's been here 2 weeks. He got injured twice. That's not a very good start, is it? But
people are allowed to get injured.
Yeah, I know, but twice in 2 weeks, whatever. For me, whatever. What was the question?
He got hit by a car. He probably didn't get hit by a car.
But he didn't get hit by a car. But I told you, he probably pulled it walking to his medical. By the sounds of it. What were the questions?
Tom, if you listen to this, sorry. Don't do it, him. He just turns up every week. It's not invited.
No, I kind of struggle with people with.
You don't know what his injury is.
Getting injured. I don't know what the injury is, and I don't know how he's done it, but I kind of struggle with it because it's like there's certain injuries there's certain people, right, that will convince themselves they're injured when they're not. Just I don't know why, but they just will, and it just really annoys me because getting injured twice in 2 weeks. Do you not like running, mate? Is that what it is?
Carl Scott's advertiser have said he's got a calf problem. But
so
again,
he didn't take it serious for the first time, then, is what he's saying. He didn't take his minor strain seriously, and he not recovered properly from it. We don't know if the first one was a calf problem. Oh, right, I thought it was. But anyway, it's not too bad, obviously.
He always picks out one, doesn't he? So is Eves the new Sadlier?
Well, 2 injuries in, however, it's been a week and a half.
I didn't know he was injured twice.
He was. He didn't. Well, he got in. He didn't train one day, which counts as an injury because not training is. Well, it is, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure we'll come on to it when we talk about the podcast. But not training is, or not playing is, it's criminal offence for me. But whatever. What question?
Can't remember.
Yeah.
Cannot remember.
One injury is not too bad. And yeah, to be fair,
there's McCart. McCart is out injured, but I think he's back midweek next week.
Well, injuries do happen, but having one injury is good. It is good, and we've also got Washington and what's his face, Coyote.
And Kelly.
I'm not worried too much. And Kelly.
Yeah.
And that whatever his name is, McCucken or whatever it is.
Although I don't think we'll see him in season, to be honest with you. Hopefully, I'll go out and loan him. But come on, talk about him in a minute.
Yeah.
Powermed UK today has probably had a bad reaction to Warren's training. Yeah, we all been told how intensive Paul Warren's training is. It could just be he's not used to that level of training.
I've had a bad reaction to Warren's training menu, and I just listen to it.
Yeah. So we don't know about Cohen Bramwell, but the things that Paul Warren has said are there's nobody major except for leaves, so we'll take it from there. Carl Scott mentioned McGuckin scoring, Mick. The lack of numbers has a positive. It means Kieran McGuckin can get minutes. It means Mackenzie Ward can get minutes. DeRose play minutes. And to be fair, on the Wednesday night game, McGuckin and DeRose played right and left wing back. That's not their positions, either of them. But I thought McGuckin had a really good game. Obviously, we didn't see the Tuesday game, but against Salford, I thought McGuckin was very, very positive. And I'm quite excited about him. He's out of the three, he's the one that's exciting me.
Yeah, at the moment, DeRose looks like a good player as well, and I've no doubt that Mackenzie Warren will develop as well. It's great that players of that age are being kind of blooded in first team, even though it's pre-season friendly. That matters not. You know, they're in and around the squad and kind of learning the trade. So I'm sure that probably all three, but certainly a couple of them will end up out on loan this season. As you say, I'm struggling to see that any of them will be sort of first teamers this season, but you just don't know, do you? You just don't know. There's some good prospects there, and it's great. You know, these players coming through the academy are coming through at a hell of a level. You know, if they can put themselves in a game certainly like that one yesterday against Salford, they're no mugs. Salford, they played really well yesterday. And none of them looked out of the depth at all. None of them. So
out of position as well.
Yeah, it's good. It's good news.
Yes, very much so. And obviously we had Champion who put the cross into JJ for the equaliser, which was an excellent cross. I think it was a pretty good finish by JJ. Difficult to see because of the sun. But we're very good. Unbeaten, only one goal conceded in the post-Park Gate friendlies. Let's talk about Georgie Kelly, Ben. People are getting a little bit excited about Georgie Kelly, not just because of the goals, but because he's doing other stuff. And that's really obvious. That sounds like a simple thing to say. But I suppose we didn't know what to expect from Georgie Kelly. We had zero information other than he scored a goal at Gillingham. So to see him doing a bit of link-up play, to see him controlling the ball pretty well, to see him moving with the ball, it just builds up the excitement even more, which just piles more pressure on Georgie Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all know how quickly narratives can build, and I think people are trying to fit the narrative that he's a really good player subconsciously. So any little thing he does, oh my God, that's amazing. I don't like it because, I mean, he's what? I just don't like it because you don't know how good he actually is, and all this excitement. I mean, you don't know how well he takes pressure as a player. He should be able to take pressure, but you don't know how well he's going to take. You don't know.
He's new to professional football. He's
yeah, but if he doesn't score in the first 4 games and people start getting on his back, how is he going to react?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So people are going to start changing the narrative and then starting to fit that he's not a good player. So all that noise means nothing. Absolutely nothing. No offense to anyone who thinks their opinion is very valid.
It's just exciting, Ben. The strike.
I know it is exciting. It is exciting. I know. I'm struggling to find the excitement in it because he's played 1 league game for us, and I don't think he played very well. Obviously, he scored a very good goal that is going to go down in memory, but he didn't play very well. I don't think.
I don't think it was lacking fitness, weren't he? Certainly, that's why he didn't get.
Well, he only played 15 minutes. You can't press 15 minutes. You can press 15 minutes, mate.
Well, you said that.
You know what I mean?
Listen, mate, I struggle pressing my mouse. So, you know what I mean? It looks a little bit unorthodox to me. It doesn't look. He's not got the look of this sounds ridiculous, and this might come back to bite me on backside. I don't know. He's not really got the look of a professional footballer. It's a little bit like Shane Ferguson in the sense that Shane Ferguson is. I mean, listen, he is an absolutely excellent player. However, his appearance doesn't fit. I don't know whether I'm making.
But that doesn't make sense because you can't say that and then tell me that Freddie and Bowler look like footballers. Look like natural footballers.
Bowler does. There's no issue with that. Freddie
plays football. Come on, when they play football, you think they look orthodox.
Yeah, Bowler does.
What?
Freddie definitely didn't.
Freddie Bowler doesn't, right? He looks like an amazing athlete, but he doesn't look like he's natural footballer. And Freddie definitely didn't.
No, Freddie was very.
I said that from day one, and I'm going to say this about Bowler and watch. In a year, you're going to go back on it just like you did with Freddie, because I was the only one that said that Freddie wasn't a good player, and I got all this hate.
We'll go all ground here, but Freddie is a good player. He's just lazy.
He's not. He's not. Yeah. He's not a good team player. He's not a good person, and he's not a good natural footballer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either Teleji Bowler or Georgie Kelly fit into that category. Because they're both will do the bare minimum of what's expected of them, and that is to work hard. There's no question about that. And I think both of them have got a lot of promise. It's just, like I said, there's just something about Georgie Kelly that I don't know whether it's the way he carries himself or what. It looks slightly different. However, I'm absolutely positive he's going to have an impact. Absolutely positive. Whether he'll get 20 goals a season is another matter. However, our recruitment team have plucked him from where they've plucked him, and they don't just pluck any old. He scored 20 goals in Irish Premier League. He'll be brilliant. They don't do that. They do the research. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm looking forward to seeing him get a run of games and see what he can produce. Particularly working alongside the likes of Connor Washington and people like that who've got that experience and who can run the lines, run across that front line and create the space for him. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. And I've got reserved high hopes for Georgie Kelly.
A bit of a wild card, isn't it? That we don't really know what to expect. We're sort of seeing in bits, a bit more. And if it doesn't quite turn out all right, it doesn't quite turn out how much we're all want it to. We have got other players in and around him. We're going to bring players in.
Yeah, of course. For me, some of this hype I think is a bit tongue in cheek. You know, and it is because none of us know. None of us know exactly how he's going to be able to perform, and probably neither does he until he gets into that heat of battle.
Jalen Simpson says he thinks Kelly suffers with self-doubt. And I think that's something you've got to be wary of, somebody who's not come through a professional system. He's not had the education, and I mean footballing education, that other players have come through. He's come through a very, very different route. And I think with a podcast at the end of last season, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was an Irish podcast. And he talked about, he talked almost like Paul Warren does about this imposter syndrome, almost. Like he didn't sort of almost feel like he didn't fit in. So I think that is part of it. I don't think he's your typical athlete who believes in himself. And if he don't believe in himself, he tells himself he believes in himself. I'm not sure Kelly fits into that category. Well, that may work in his favour. It works in Paul Warren's favour, doesn't it? So
100%.
Sean Green says if he scores a goal every 2 games, we'll all be jumping for joy.
Absolutely.
Yes, we will. I don't think there's much more to take from those. We saw everybody got minutes. Vickers got his first appearance of pre-season, which is obviously a good thing. Victor played against Harrogate. Vickers played against Salford. Unbeaten, mate. There's not much more we can take them for those friendlies from a performance point of view, I don't think.
Yeah. And as Warney keeps saying, we're still missing some players. There's still some more players to come in. I think as these friendlies now go on, we'll start to see less of the academy lads in there and more of the first team and the sort of kind of starting 11 will start to take shape. So,
well, let's be fair. No offense to Salford and Harrogate, but they're not championship teams, are they? No offense to them, they are good clubs, but they're not championship quality teams, are they?
They're not, and they play a completely different style of football to everybody else in the championship. You know, it's more akin to the League One football that we've been watching. So, I mean, if there's any criticism at all to be leveled at the club, certainly the opposition that's been chosen for some of these, well, for all the friendlies really, and I'm sure this is out of necessity rather than choice. It could have been we could have done it with being upper level, you know, teams that play a similar style to what we can be expected in this coming season. But you can only get what you can get, can't you?
I think the women's, from a Rotherham United point of view, the women's Euros has stuffed us a little bit because you can't play a Premier League team at their ground.
No,
it's not going to happen. Whereas we played Newcastle last season at home. From that point of view, it stuffed us a little bit. But you know, we'll talk about the Twitter complaints in a minute. But while we're on it, shall we talk about New York Stadium? Looking an absolute beaut on Sunday night and when we're recording Thursday evening. I almost didn't recognise it, Ben. You know, the nets were different, the electronic boards were different. It just, from a camera angle point of view, it just looked like a different stadium.
Yeah, I don't like them nets.
No, I don't like
it. It don't fit. It just feels uncomfortable. It just feels uncomfortable. But yeah, it looks so good. I mean, I was saying to Mick for the podcast, like, it's such a nice stadium, isn't it? It is just such a nice stadium. It's just so nice. I enjoy looking at it. I could look at it all day. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Yeah.
We have got a mini vlog from Danny, but I haven't loaded it up, so we'll save that till Sunday. He did a vlog from the Sunday night game. We haven't got that prepared for one reason or another. That's not prepared. But yeah, big. It's our stadium. It's beautiful and it looked really good.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad. If somebody said to you, go back sort of 12 years, and somebody said to you, you know what, in 12 years' time, Rotherham United Stadium will be live on BBC One hosting an international European Championship game, you'd have just laughed. You'd have just laughed them out.
Between France and Italy as well.
Yeah.
Not San Marino or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's brilliant. And to be fair, I mean, I've seen some of the games, and the quality of some of the sides is something to behold. It really, really is. So England the other night were outstanding. I mean, absolutely outstanding. And France and New York the other night were excellent. Although I think Italy were a bit dire, weren't they? To be fair,
did France win like 5-0? Was it 5-0?
5-1.
5-1.
5-1.
I mean, Italy only just picked up a point today against Iceland, which maybe gives you a level of where Italy are. Maybe I don't think they're sort of the level of the men's team in the world order. But as a tournament,
the men's team didn't even make it to the World Cup, did they?
I mean, they're currently European champions, but yeah.
Yeah, I know they are, but it shouldn't be, should they? Certain people should have been sent off, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll get more competitive games. You see, so some people, I get the point to an extent. We don't want to see 8-0s and 5-1s in the group stages.
No.
But it happens. The game's growing, and that will happen from time to time. Happens. Look at England when we 7-0 we beat Panama at World Cup. Stupid results happen from time to time. I think when it gets to the serious stage of the competition, it's going to be some cracking games, properly competitive games as it goes on. Hopefully, anyway. Brian Vernon says all clubs need to get rid of these awful standard nets. Back to the 80s retros, but New York City is beautiful. Yeah, I also think it looked different because we have red and white nets, don't we?
Yeah.
And these weren't just nets. They were like, I don't know how, but they stood out, and I didn't like it. So if anybody's listening from the club, go back to red and white nets when season starts. I know we'll have to bow down to UEFA for minute, but also, what were with the dugouts being covered? We've got dugouts built into the stadium. Oh no, UEFA says we can't use those. Why? I don't understand.
Maybe it's a health and safety thing. If ball goes in there and rattles about, it might hurt somebody. I don't know, mate. Who knows?
It's just
who knows?
I don't understand. We've got a great thing, but yeah, it's good to see it being used, and hopefully it's bringing more people down. I spoke to Jamie from the Community Sports Trust the other day. Said they've had well over 1,000 people visit the exhibition down at New York Stadium. It's great. I'm enjoying everything about New York Stadium at the minute, to be honest with you. I just want to be back there watching Rotherham United again, though, is the problem.
It's a wonderful place. We're very, very lucky.
No, it's not, no. 2 weeks away. 2 weeks on Saturday is the first home game of the season. Anyway. We've had enough positivity. Let's talk about some whinging, yeah? Let's talk about some whinges from about the business, transfer business at the minute. Some of it's valid, some of it's just whinging for whinging's sake, but let's talk about it anyway. The main gripe, Ben, seems to be that we're not, the squad is not good enough. That's not just come from Rotherham fans, that's come from outside forces as well. I'm a little bit, I don't really get it, because when you strip it back, I don't think, Paul wanted, I think, the starting 11's there. And I think the starting 11 is there. You got Victor or Vickers in goal, whoever you want to pick. People said that Woody's not going to play loads of games this season. I put money on Woody playing at least 35 games this season. It's nearly all the season. You've got Humphreys who can play in there, McCarthy can play in there, Wes that can play centre back, a Duffin that can play centre back. So centre backs, although we could do with a body, we're probably done. Right wing back, you've got Kyoso, and left wing back, you've got Cohen Bramall and Shane Ferguson. So we're probably a little bit light on the right hand side, but we're not going to get him better than Kyoso, probably. Midfield's set, in it. Let's be right about it. You've got five midfielders in there? Midfield's pretty much set. You can, again, maybe bring in a body, but that might be it. And then striker, we all know the striking situation. We're at least one striker short, maybe two. Have I got anything wrong in there? You like to disagree with anything I've just said?
I don't know what the problem is, personally. I don't know what the problem is. Yeah, we're a striker or two short, but who isn't? Name a club in the football league, but probably Man City now that we signed Haaland, who's short of a striker. Do you know what I mean? There's every club is short of a striker, so it's just people whining about something. I guess I struggle to understand it because no one has no idea. We have no idea what's going on in the club. We have no idea how well the team's performing in training. Kelly could be the next Lewandowski, or he could be the next, next Adebayor or someone, and just next Freddie. You know what I mean? He could just not be very good. People have no idea. So, I don't know. I don't understand what all the complaints about personally. Baffles me.
Yeah, John Morell, the Birmingham fan, points out it's quality over not quantity, and that's key, mate. That's key.
Yeah.
Paul Warne could generally go out and sign 10 players tomorrow. He could do it easily.
Yeah,
Not better than what we've already got, and that's.
Do you remember what happened last time? A Rotherham manager did that.
Alan Stubbs
And Steve Evans.
Steve Evans, yeah, getting a double promotion. You can't use him.
Yeah, but he put club in a very bad position.
Yeah, he did. It's quality over quantity, and that's the key phrase I suspect they're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at, just as an example, you look at the defender that we've got rid of in Hekwe. Okay, so we've gone and replaced him with an ex-Man City player. We've got somebody on trial from Wolves who played in the Dutch Premier League last season. We've got Wes Harding, who we know his quality. McCarthy's just recovering from his his induction, his quad injury. Who looks a quality player. We've got players who've got experience and quality at a higher level than we've been playing at. So we've replaced a player that was a League One player who's failed in the Championship twice before with players who've got that experience. We've never done that before. We've not done that before. You look up front, we've got rid of Smithy, and then we brought in players with Championship experience in the likes of Eves, the likes of Washington. Yeah, international experience in terms of Connor Washington. They may not be prolific goal scorers. Michael Smith wasn't a prolific goal scorer. He had a good season in League One. That's it. One good season. But we bought in the players with the experience. This time last season, we bought in Shane Ferguson, who got a bit of experience. That was about it. We just bought in players that we could develop. I think so far the transfer business has been absolutely excellent, really, really good, because I think they have brought in quality. We've not just lumped for let's get some bodies in. They brought in players that either one have got that experience, or two they feel that the team feel that they can develop. So for me, I'm very, very happy with the way it's gone so far, and I'm absolutely positive that the incomings are not by any stretch of the imagination complete yet. So some of the chat is just bizarre. It's really bizarre, but you know what I mean. What can you do? We've seen it all before, haven't we? And people don't learn.
Yeah. No, Jalen Simpson does say that Paul Warne seemed frustrated with the lack of movement. Yeah, he did. I picked that up, but he did say in the interview that two players that day said that we're going to go elsewhere. So that it could have just been that's all it was. Two players have decided to go elsewhere, and he's just frustrated. I know I'd be frustrated, Ben. So, and that's what you get with Paul Warne. He plays his heart on his sleeve. We know this. We'll talk about the podcast in a minute. But this is the thing with Paul Warne. If he's upset or not happy about something, it's very obvious, and then fans go, "Oh, he's frustrated about something. Stuart must not be paying cash, or this must be wrong, or that must be wrong." It just seems like two players have just said no, and we've got to move on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What's the question? What's the question?
Your opinion on what I just said.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, we'll talk about the podcast and Paul Warne in a minute, but that's a good narrative to follow, and Stuart won't get his hand out his pocket. So that's what I'm going to go with personally.
Why not?
Because I don't like him. He's an awful chairman. Won't dip his hand in pocket. He's done nothing for Rotherham. Get him out of
Yeah. Paramount UK points out the very important point. Very, very important point. He thinks at least 5 players will be coming in on loan. I think we're possibly waiting on other clubs. Though it's all about the domino effect. Transfer markets don't just happen. They are so impacted by other people's movements. So, for example, you've got Burnley. Burnley sold somebody else to Wolves, and they've got that cash now. And they're now looking at the O'Hare from Coventry. And then Coventry will then look at somebody else from somewhere else. And that cash then floats down the system. You've got to wait for that to happen, because then more players become available left, right, and centre. It's not all about Rotherham United. When we are nowhere near the top of this food chain, we are nowhere near the top of this food chain. We've got to wait for the people to become available. Brian Vernon says he's happy except from a striker. Yeah, but everybody needs a striker, Mick. Everybody wants a striker.
But yeah, absolutely. And you know, we may end
I
up.
do agree with Brian about that, though.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get another one in. But the other thing to bear in mind with all this, and I know it's been mentioned a couple of times in the comments there, the loan market, whilst it's open, has not even started yet. You know, teams are still trying to bring players in, trying to settle the squad, and then and only then will they decide whether the players are going to go out on loan. So there's loads of time, and when does the transfer window shut? Is it end of August?
1st September.
Yeah, there'll still be movement in going through August. So nothing at all to worry about.
Yeah, you sort of have spells in the summer transfer window. You have the free transfer window, and I know they all open at the same time technically, but the free transfer window is realistically open until pre-season starts, 1st of July, and then it maybe goes on for a couple of weeks later. And then later on in July, realistically, the transfers you pay cash for then start to open up.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards beginning of August onwards, the loan market properly opens up. So you sort of have 3 windows within an actual transfer window. Is how it generally works for us. I don't know. I understand why people are worried, but you've got to look at the bigger picture. We're not there yet. We're not at our destination of the championship yet, are we? Really?
This is the problem, though, Matt. Isn't it? You know, I don't understand why people are frustrated. I genuinely don't, because
they've seen the lack of players last night.
Say again?
They've seen the lack of players on Wednesday night. I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, but Wednesday night we're playing a pre-season friendly in Manchester, and that's it. We don't look any further than that. You know what I mean? All the comments and all the stupid daft comments are based purely and simply on one game against Salford, where we're playing roll-on, roll-off subs with our junior team, and all of a sudden, transfer window's crap, recruitment's crap. We've got worst squad we've ever had in a pre-season, and we're all going to go down, and everybody's going to die. It's like, God, have a look, broaden your horizons. Have a look a little bit further into the future. Have a look into the past. What's happened in the past? What's happened previously? We can't just base it on one thing, you know. And come 2 weeks today, if we lose 1-0 at home to Swansea, it's just going to be the worst season ever. But it is, isn't it? As well,
yeah, it will. Gerald says it's a marathon, not a sprint. Brian Vernon will just rightly point out we'll talk about this maybe next week after, but we need a good start, even more with the big boys. Yeah, I think you are right. We will come on to that later on the show. Jamie Dyson says, very happy with the recruitment so far. The pace in the team, along with the quality and experience of players playing at a high level, excites me. He's something will go down. He'll predict 16th. Yeah, I think the pace is very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah.
But there we go. We'll probably talk about that again in a minute, to be honest with you. But let's go where we are now. Let's talk about the moment of truth. The podcast finally aired on the day that we are recording, which is Thursday. 5 episodes at a time. I don't know when the second lot is coming out. We will find out on Sunday, Mick, won't we?
Yeah, we will. I know, actually, because it's already been announced, but we will find out for definite on Sunday. Yeah, it's 5 episodes every Thursday for the next 2 weeks. So next Thursday, another 5, and the final 5 the Thursday after. But we might get a better insight into why that is.
Yeah, so on Sunday night's episode live on YouTube, which will be about Monday morning through the podcast, we will be speaking with the brains behind it. Simon Clancy, the guy who you can hear talking to Paul Warne and Carl Robinson, will be joining us on Sunday, and we're going to ask him some questions about the podcast, get his thoughts on it, and whatever else, which we're all looking forward to. Well done, Michael, for arranging that one. So, what are your thoughts? I know, Ben, I think you've only listened to one or two episodes.
Yeah, first one, the one.
Just the first one.
The Miller's Cross.
What are your thoughts on it? Thought your thoughts on it, Ben?
It's good. I like how passionate Paul Warne is and how much he cares about it. But I think he is I've got a theory that I was.
It's not going to upset somebody, is it?
It was. For some people may not like it, but I think this is what happened. Right, Paul Warren's a very passionate person, right? But he's a very I think that there is a lack of confidence there. Because these thoughts, that he says, I'm not going to spoil all this, but the thoughts that he says he sometimes has, and the worries that he has, for me, is maybe the reason why we bottled it, because that might have subconsciously, that might just show through his body language, and then when obviously as a team, the manager's kind of the leader. Once the person who you look up to and the leader starts to show that, it kind of wears off on yourself, which is maybe why we bottled it, because we did.
We started to bottle it. We didn't bottle it.
Let's be real. We bottled it. Let's be real.
All right, positivity.
But yeah. So I think but I think there's a lack of confidence there. But I love it. I love how passionate they are. But I disagree with the way that they see certain things. But obviously, I'm not a football manager, so who am I to comment?
Okay. I know what he's saying about that, and I think there's the Paul Warren. He doesn't live on a fear of failure, but that's maybe not even what motivates him. But he clearly has a fear of failure, and it's not a fear of feeling bad about it. It's a fear of disappointing other people. Feel about upsetting the fans, his players, his family, and things like that. I think that's what comes across to me, and I know what you're saying, that could in turn result in desperation. Which if desperation feeds into your players, then you're going to start losing because there's desperation rather than that will to win. And I think maybe we did get in a rut, but he also got us out of that rut at the end of the season. We were sailing into playoffs, weren't we? But Paul Warren and his team managed to turn that around, which we'll come on to a little bit further on when the episodes are released. Mick, anything on Ben's just said?
Yeah, I mean, over my career, I've worked with quite a lot of leaders in inverted commas. Some have been unbelievable leaders who I would do anything for. Some have been woeful, and I mean woeful. And the woeful leaders have been more recently in recent times. The better leaders were in the past, in the good old days, if you like. However, all these current crop of leaders all aspire to be like Paul Warren, to be that kind of person. And none of them that I've come across, with the exception of Paul Warren, listening to these podcasts, none of them come close, but he does. And he's the type of bloke that I personally, if he was my gaffer, I would run through brick walls for him. And the more vulnerability and the more vulnerability that he showed me, the more I would do for him.
No, but that it wears off, because when your leader starts,
but it doesn't, does it?
It does.
If it's honest, I think if it's honest and pure, I don't think it wears off, because it's you. You're just being you. Whereas I think if you use Steve Evans as an example, this is a leadership debate I never thought we'd have on this podcast.
Yeah.
The Steve Evans effect is, grrr, I'm angry, I will shout it. That's the Steve Evans mantra. And that only works for a period of time, because I don't think Steve Evans deep down is actually like that. We spoke to Michael O'Connor, who said away from football, he's a great guy. And I think that's why the Steve Evans one wears off, because he's not really being real. He's putting on an act, where that's Paul Warren. That's him, isn't it?
I disagree. I think he's trying to hide. I think he's trying to hide the fact that he doesn't want to let the fail to the players.
But he's not hiding it very well. He said it out. He's literally said it.
No, he doesn't make sense to me, because as a player, if your leader is kind of has got that thought of failing in the back of his mind, that's worrying. That's worrying.
Everybody has those. For me, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else, I suppose, but for me, everybody has fear of failure. Everybody.
I know, but even to that level, he's worrying, because that's your lead. That's who you look up to. That's who you meant to put confidence in you and motivate you. And if he's showing a lack of a fear of failure, that kind of, for me, that would worry me. Because that goes through all the players. They might not show it, the players, but it definitely gets through. They'll definitely notice that. and that's maybe for me why we struggled toward the end of the season, or just before the end of the season.
It's an interesting thought, and it's not something that I'd really crossed my mind. And you might be right. However, the thing about Paul Warne and the thing about Richie Barker and Hamshaw and the team as well, they won't rest and sit back on that and allow it to happen again. They will learn from that. They'll learn how to deal with those emotions, learn how to deal with what happened, and do it better next time. And that's what his personality shines through. What shines through in his personality for me, the fact that every day's a school day. You know, I'm frightened. I don't know whether I've done the right thing. I didn't do the right thing. I'll change it next time, and we'll do it again. We'll do it differently. But he's outward. He's open. You know, Stevens was completely the opposite, and I'm sure probably in real life, Steve Evans has the same insecurities that everybody else does. But as a gaffer, I wouldn't have done anything for him. I would have gone the opposite. If he'd have been my gaffer, I would have gone the opposite and done everything I possibly could to undermine him, because I'd want him out. Because that's not how to treat people. That's not how you motivate people. For me, let me rephrase that. That's not how you motivate me, you know, as a gaffer. But this is why Paul Warne surrounds himself with people, brings in players who are of the same mindset, because they're all on the same level. So they all understand this fear, that fear, this vulnerability, the other. They're intelligent enough to understand that, and they can see that those players are all going to have those same fears of failure. If the manager also has that, then it's something that they're able to discuss together and work together as a team, because they are a team ultimately. Paul Warne is just a figurehead. He's the man that carries the can. However, I don't know whether
I agree, but Ben, with that fear of failure, when things get tough, that's what costs you, because that comes through when it gets 1-0 down when you're 1-0 down at bottom of league away and there's 10 minutes left. That's what gets you, the fear of failing.
But in our history of Paul Warne, what have we done? We've come back from that.
Yeah, 100%.
We've shown resilience.
And I hope you're right. I hope he does. I hope he does find a way to.
This is something we've talked privately about, is the England cricket team and the Test team, and how this is again something I didn't think we'd bring in, but the England Test team are trying to bring in a fear of no fear. You can go out, just do what you do, be the best you can possibly be. If it fails, don't worry about it too much, because you get another go. If you lose a game, don't worry about it. You've got another game. You don't like that, Ben, but you also don't like Paul Warne, which is they are contrasted. So, do you know? I'm not trying to ask you.
But I 100%. But listen, the way I see football, right, or the way I see sports, and the way I think it should be played is a Neil Warnock type way. It's motivation, right? But there is also, you just confidence. There's got to be some sort of confidence there that will get you through it. But when times get tough, there's got to be that motivation of, I'm not losing. No, I don't want to lose, so I'm not losing. Does that make sense? With the England cricket team, I think that's there is a point of that, but it's the laughing and joking that I don't like. It should be serious. That's what I don't like. I like the fact that we're slogging it. I like the fact that we're doing all these things, and I like the fact that there's no fear of failure. But getting out for 4, a golden duck or whatever when you first batter, that's unacceptable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sort of does. I see what you're saying. I was just trying to put the bar, to be honest with you. But I don't think we've seen. I think these first 5 episodes have shown the vulnerable Paul Warne, and then he can have a go at him. We've seen the first episode, he can have a go at him. I think as it gets further down the line, we'll probably see the other side of Paul. And if you see the trailer they put on Twitter of his team talk at Gillingham, that just, you'd do anything for that, wouldn't you? And that makes sense to me.
Well, you don't know how these are trying to narrate it as well. These could be doing some sort of things, I don't know what, but they can make it go a certain way if they want to, if that makes sense, the BBC. So it is kind of hard to tell as well.
To be fair, by the nature of these things, you're building up to the next episode, aren't you? You're building up to a crescendo to make sure that everybody watches or listens all the way through. So there's going to be a certain amount of of that, I imagine, or that's something we could certainly ask Simon on Sunday. But the bottom line with it is that as a club, we have got a manager who bleeds red and white. He bleeds this club. It means so much to him. It means more to him, or as much to him as it means to all of us. You know, there are 92, 91 other football clubs in this country, professional football clubs, who would kill to have a manager like that. You know, a manager who would just do anything for the club, and we've got one. But not only have we got one, he's not some archaic dinosaur who throws teapots at everybody. You know, he's a modern, forward-thinking manager and more forward-thinking leader. I can't tell you how lucky we are. I cannot express in words how lucky we are to have him as our manager. It's phenomenal. And the more I listen to him and get to know him personally through these podcasts, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
He just sort of makes you want to be a bit better, doesn't he? Yeah. Even though you're not playing for him, you want to do better things. You want to be better at everything you do. We want to make better podcasts, father, son, job. He just makes you want to be better by listening to him and understanding him a bit better. Yeah. Incredibly lucky. We should also point out, and this is not, I don't think this is too much a spoiler, but I think this is a good indication of us sort of bearing in mind what we say and what could be happening. He talked about the Shrewsbury game. Now, we all remember the 3-0 loss at Shrewsbury. And I went back and listened to our podcast post-match, and the criticism that we piled on in terms of team selection. If we didn't play Chio and we didn't play Mikel Miller on that game. I remember me, Mick, and Danny. I think Ben, I didn't listen to them, but we were very critical, saying I can't understand any reason why we would play at least one Chio or Miller. It didn't make any sense. And it turns out that Mikel Miller was on according to the head of medical, he was on the verge of a very bad hamstring injury. If he'd played full 90 minutes. And that's a sign, Mick, that we record this. So when we say it's stuck, it's out there. We're not getting it back.
Yeah.
But it's my point is, it's something that we'll never know that, and we shouldn't really know. Because of this, we're very lucky that this podcast's come out. But this is just a sign of things. So many things going behind the scene that we don't just see, and we've got to be wary of that maybe sometimes.
Can I just add? I've said this for a year.
Which bit?
But you don't know what goes on in training. You don't know what goes on.
I know, but this is a very specific example. This is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
We now have a definitive example of, or everybody's saying one thing, and actually, I think again, not to spoil anything, but I think Paul Warne said it was at risk of being out until October. I think we played in March, so that's how bad the verge of the injury could have been. Is the point I'm making?
I think one of the other things to bear in mind is that, you know, we. Like you say, you know, we're all football managers, aren't we? But I've been criticised in the past for saying, you know, and people probably taking some of my tweets the wrong way by saying, you know, I've said he's not open to criticism, and he's not open to criticism. Yeah, he might make mistakes, but you listen to him, you listen to his train of thought, you listen to the consideration and the thought that goes into the decisions he makes, a la Shrewsbury selection and everything else. They are made with incredible thought, incredible consideration, and based on the facts and information that he has at that time. If it turns out to be wrong, you can't criticise him for it. You can't, because nobody could have made a different decision based on the information that he had, or a better decision, should I say, other than through luck. You can't, because everything that he does it for the right reasons, and that for that reason alone, you can't be critical of it. If it fails, it fails. These things happen, but for me, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to say, and it really is, and I know that it is. But he is above criticism for me. He is above it.
But we will spend the next 10 minutes criticising him.
From fans.
Yeah. From us.
Yeah, from us. Not from Pep, you know what I mean?
Well,
I don't think Pep's going to go ring Paul Warne.
I know.
You know what you should have done? I don't know why you didn't play Mikel Miller, Paul.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's wise enough. Yeah, we'll stop blowing smoke with his backside, shall we?
Just lay off him, for God's sake. That's all I'm saying. Lay off him because he's better than any of us.
Yeah. Paul Will Roebuck says Paul Warne podcast is needed. He could start his own. When he finishes football management, he could start his own podcast because he can just talk forever, can't he? And you'd listen to him. Power Med UK says Paul Warne needs to know how fantastic he is. J Boy says he's watched all five episodes of the podcast. What a manager we have, a lifetime contract, please. James Dyson says, in Warne we trust. We are very lucky to have a staff, manager and backroom staff that love the club. They deserve the success in the championship, and hopefully this can be the season that we get it. Yeah. John Morell asks a question. I'm going to answer this question for you, Mick. John Morell says, hypothetical question to you, Mick. If you are 1 win in 12 games, does he get a free pass or is he under pressure? Mick would say if we finish the end of the season on 25 points, he would still get a free pass. Would that be wrong, Mick?
No, that's bang on. Bang on. And the reason behind that, John, is because this is not a short-term project. This is not a 6 month, 1 season, 2 season, 3 season project. This is a 10, 15-year project to build this club, possibly even longer, to build this club into a sustainable club that can live within its means and can live at a level. And yeah, we go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. We've done that under Paul Warne, I don't know how many times now, 3 or 4 times, but each time we've improved when we've gone up and we've improved when we've been back down there as well. So that whilst the progress is small, it's still there. And everything else that goes off in the background, behind the scenes, in training, in just the way that the club is now built structurally, from personnel point of view, it's just streets ahead of anything we've ever known as supporters of this club, and probably I would argue streets ahead of many other clubs from the top of the Championship down to the bottom of League Two. It's professional in every way, and a lot of that is down to Paul Warne. I don't think 12 games into a season or even another season, for me, it's not a defining factor in what he's doing or done for and continues to do for this club. I know it's a results-driven game, and everybody wants to finish as high as possible. But I mean, John will know as well as anybody else. You want a club first and foremost. You want a club that's run properly, and that's what we're building. And it's not complete yet. Whether it'll ever be complete is another matter, isn't it? But for me, Paul Warne's the man to do it.
I agree. It's not a negative to come out of the podcast, but something different that I wasn't expecting to come out of the podcast is that Carl Robinson seems all right. I was really surprised. And again, not going to say too much of the podcast, but the Carl Robinson bits are very, very interesting, very, very good. Mick, I know you've got to re-listen to those, wasn't you? Because you struggle with the sound a bit.
Yeah, I'm driving back from Wales, and it was difficult to listen to Carl Robinson. I mean, he's got a very strong accent, which is half the problem. Strong, yeah. I'm as deaf as a post. That's another problem. My wife won't let me turn the radio up any louder. That were another problem. So, yeah, I'm going to listen to it. But the bits I've heard of him, I am mighty impressed by him, and God, it hurts.
Oh, you didn't it? It's
but I don't want to spoil it for people, but he does explain within there how he's progressed as a person throughout his managerial career, if you like.
He started at 29, didn't he? I didn't realise that. He started a young 29-year-old, and yeah.
Listen, as a football fan, obviously as a Rotherham fan, we're going to want to push this anyway. But just as a football fan, I would quite happily sit and listen to just the Oxford ones. As a football fan, it's fascinating. It really is fascinating, and it just gives a real insight into what goes on behind the scenes and the emotions and everything else. It's a fantastic piece of work. Certainly the stuff that I've listened to so far, fantastic piece of work.
Yeah. And great to relive the moments. The fifth episode is the Wembley episode. There's lots of stuff about that, about picking the squad from Paul 1, which is very interesting. And again, gives you a bit more insight on him as a person. But they got the club commentary, Sam Todd and the Matt Goodwin commentary from the Wembley final as well, all goals going in and things like that. It's very, very, very well done. And like I said, we're not even at the Gillingham game yet, which I can't wait for. There's two bits I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to the Portsmouth talk, because we've heard the preview of that. But that's going to be amazing. And obviously the final game of the season, the Gillingham one, to see the behind the scenes, the post-match and things like that from that point of view, I can't wait. But we'll have to wait for that, won't we? There we go. We need to let everybody know that anybody is fancying going down to the charity football match at Flash Lane on Saturday that Danny is taking part in. You still can. That is kicking off at 1. The event starts at 12. There'll be a raffle with plenty of prizes as well as a tuck shop. The raffle will be on after, and there's awards handed out, and there's an after party at Kimmy Park Pub. So if you can't make it there, you can always go to the Kimmy Park Pub afterwards, and they'll be sort of celebrating and having a good old drink or 3. Are you two going to be going to this? I don't you, Owen and Arin.
Yeah, we are going.
Yeah,
but we're not going to be there at 12 because I've got training. We'll be there about 1:45, 12:30.
These aren't playing, by the way. Mick and Ben aren't playing. Next year, I'm going to see if they let you be ref, Mick.
Listen, no.
Yeah, that is a good idea because it'll teach him a lesson.
It will teach him a lesson. What we'll try and do, we'll try and get you to referee, and we'll see if Howard Webb can come along and assess you.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We should also point out next Thursday is the Legends Evening at Rotherham Rugby Club. Kev Johnson has given us the green light to stream the event as best we can. So hopefully, touching wood, technology willing, we will be able to bring you the Q&A from Rotherham Rugby Club live to YouTube. If we can't bring it live, we'll record it and put it out afterwards. But the aim is to try and bring that, and then we'll ask if people that can donate to Rotherham Hospice, please do so. But we'll work on that. That will mean though that next week's Thursday evening episode, will be recorded on Wednesday evening probably, and then we'll be out Thursday morning rather than Friday morning because we've got something on, obviously on that Thursday evening, and then the next Sunday's episode will be moved as well. But we'll talk about that next week maybe. I think we're just about out of stuff. So before I ask Mick and Ben if there's anything else, please do subscribe to YouTube if you are or haven't already. Please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you may get your audio podcasts from. The Moment of Truth is on BBC Sounds, is the best place to get it. It is on other ways, but
the first two are on Spotify.
Yeah, the first 2 are on Spotify, but all 5 are on BBC Sounds. So just download BBC Sounds to your device or your computer. Just go on BBC Sounds, you'll be able to find the Moment of Truth podcast there. And like Mick says, the next 5 are out next Thursday, which will clash with our podcast. Brilliant. Mick, Ben, anything you want to talk about before we go?
It just made me smirk a little bit when you said technology permitting, we'll go live from the Legends event. It's nothing to do with technology, is it? Our ability to operate, technology permitting.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, isn't it? If you're an idiot, you can just blame technology.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh,
why has this not worked? Technology.
Seems fair.
No.
Yeah.
We've obviously got a friendly on Saturday that we will talk about, and then that's Simon Clancy will join us to talk about the Moment of Truth. Danny will be back with us to give us a sort of a more idea of New York Stadium at European Championships. We haven't covered any rumours, but I don't think there are any. Mick, Ben, anything else?
No.
Wonderful. So it's been a pleasure to be back with you. I hope everybody stays cool this weekend. I know you won't, but I hope you do. Stay safe, stay wherever you are. If you go Saturday, please enjoy it. If you can donate on the day, please do so. It's from Hospice, which is obviously an amazing cause. Mick, Ben, it's been a pleasure. See you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Freddie's on one-on-one. Freddie's turning shoot. Can Freddie go shot? Yeah!